Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 3rd, 2012 Lake Washington School District Board of Directors meeting. And all board members are present. And we have just come from a very good work session that we were talking about math and math pathways, and very well done. Thank you very much. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay,
I'll second.
Okay. Doug moved. Nancy second to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have our host school here this evening.
Our host school this evening is Lakeview Elementary School, so I'd like to welcome Principal Shauna Rothas to the podium, and she's here, and it looks like she's got some people from her school as well.
I do.
So I'll turn it over to you, Shauna.
Good evening. We had it.
Thanks,
It's
Diane.
gone.
I am Shauna Rothas, the very proud principal of Lakeview Elementary School. This is my third year as the principal of Lakeview. I have been very fortunate to be a part of the Lake Washington School District since starting here in 1993 as the principal of Helen Keller Elementary School. Throughout my experiences in the Lake Washington School District, I have valued the strong emphasis we place on being student-centered and ensuring that we are doing everything we can to help each child succeed. Oh, thank you. Is it the mic? Tonight, I am honored to share about the exceptional work happening for children every day at Lakeview Elementary to make this success possible. I have the privilege of joining daily with a phenomenal team of caring and extremely talented educators who provide a meaningful and highly rigorous learning environment for all students. I would like to take a moment to recognize our parents and staff members in the room. So if all of our staff members and parents could please stand. I have a few parents too. Thank you for coming tonight. For tonight's presentation, I would like to introduce you to Lakeview, share about our continuous improvement planning, and highlight some aspects of our school culture that we celebrate. Lakeview opened its doors this fall to 467 students. We welcome 2 district programs to our school. One is the ELL program for the Lake Washington Learning Community, which brings greater ethnic diversity to Lakeview. The second is the addition of a primary learning center for students in kindergarten and grade 1 who have varying disabilities. This program joins the learning center that was already at Lakeview for students in grades 3, 4, and 5. Having both programs enables our school to provide a full K-5 configuration for the students who qualify for this program. We have 56 staff members, 36 certificated, and 20 classified staff made up of our custodians, office staff, instructional assistants who provide support in our classrooms, at recess, and in the lunchroom, as well as our paraeducators who serve students who need direct support services. One of Lakeview's greatest strengths is our diversity, which can be found in the areas of economics, ethnicity, and academics. We believe our community is enriched by this diversity, and we work diligently to create avenues to provide our families a common pathway of exceptional learning opportunities for each and every child in our school, as well as a meaningful voice to our Lakeview families. An example of this outreach is that we will be having our first annual multicultural fair to recognize and celebrate 64 countries that make up our school's world map. The process of setting our continuous improvement goals begins with the Lakeview SIP team, made up of representatives of each grade level, special education, specialists, and our classified staff, reflecting on the initial MSP data in August. In this process, they look for overall trends which surface as areas of strength and areas needing attention. The next level of the disaggregation takes place within each of our academic instructional teams, which are focused on math, reading, writing, and science. Each academic instructional team has 2 SIP leads and 1 staff member from each grade level, along with a specialist representative. These teams meet to review the data more in-depthly, determine the key areas of celebration from the previous year, and make recommendations to the staff on the overall building goals and specific action plans for their content area within the continuous improvement plan. Each team then works collaboratively with the Lakeview staff to bring clarity around the plans within each content area for increasing our students' academic performance. Our grade level teams then work on the next level of goal development, which aligns with the building goals already established in the continuous improvement plan. They meet to review student data, such as that which is now available on the data dashboard, and create grade level action plans, keeping the progress of each individual student in mind. An integral aspect of our action planning in these teams is based on the work of our professional learning communities, or PLCs as we refer to them. During the summer of 2011, a team of Lakeview staff attended a PLC conference. We were inspired by this body of work and have continued to build on this process, where our teaching teams work collaboratively to review data and work collectively to develop strategic plans to achieve better results for our students. Lakeview teachers know their students well and continuously monitor their progress. These teams make instructional decisions as needed to ensure that all students are staying the course to meet standard or are being provided with challenge in order to extend and enrich their learning. As a school, we also look vertically at our SIP goals. This occurs in our LEAP days and staff meeting discussions, as well as our school-wide opportunities for learning walks, which we piloted last year and will be implementing across our school this year. We recognize the importance of high expectations, rigor, and meaningful learning experiences as we commit to a steadfast focus on learning for each student at Lakeview. The areas of the continuous improvement plan for Lakeview during the 2012-2013 school year based on the SIP goal-setting process follow. In math, students will increase their skills in number sense. In science, students will increase their understanding of overall science. Reading, students will increase their comprehension skills. And writing, students will increase their expository writing skills. Given the time allocation for tonight's meeting, I will be focusing on the SIP content relative to mathematics at Lakeview. This slide shows Lakeview's MSP math scores from 2009 to the most current data from spring 2012. As you can see, our students in 3rd, 5th, and 6th grade have seen a 3 to 12% increase in their math performance over this period of time, and 4th grade went down slightly. In relation to each of the SIP goals, we have programs throughout Lakeview that support the growth of our students. In this slide, you see examples of programs that support and enrich our work in mathematics. At the top of the list is the Math Safety Net program, which we are thrilled to be offering for the first time this year. We are providing professional development for teachers on strategies they can incorporate in their PLCs to differentiate in order to meet the needs of all learners. This year, we will also be able to have access to a mathematician in residence. This resource is a component of our membership to Zeno, which used to be called Explorations in Math. We look forward to having this level of support provided as we engage in several pilots across the school in the area of math differentiation. In addition, we have monthly math challenge problems, which are designed to engage the entire school in relevant, challenging math problems. All students are invited to answer rigorous, yet practical math questions, and then put their answer in the hat for a single prize or one for the class with the greatest participation. Our math clubs are for students in both primary and intermediate grades. They offer interactive, hands-on math activities and games. In addition, we participate in the Math Olympiad each year. iExcel is a math software program that allows students to practice their basic skills. It also has a component for at-home practice. Our Pizza Feed Family Math Night is an engaging event for the entire community where family members come for an evening of math, fun, and games. We also offer parent math education during this time to enable our parents to learn new techniques for supporting their students' math growth. Each year, we celebrate this event. Last year, we had 100 students and parents attend. We hope to have even more in attendance this year. It is important to also note that within the Lake Washington learning community, under the strong leadership of David Larson, we have been concentrating on math performance of our students as we focus collaboratively on creating a positive math culture for each of our schools. In addition, teachers from each of the Lake Washington learning community elementary schools began meeting last year as grade level teams on topics related to math instruction that they felt were most important for their students. Our teachers found this work meaningful and are thrilled that this collaboration will continue this year. An example of the powerful work of our PLC teams using an action research focus is a model of math instruction used with students in 4th and 5th grade that offers flexible math groups. In our 4th grade math program, there are 3 teachers. Of the 3 teachers, 2 teach heterogeneous groups made up of medium and high-performing students, those in levels 3 and 4. And 1 teaches a homogeneous group of students who benefit from a different pace and more frequent reinforcement, or those in levels 1 and 2. These teachers meet regularly to review student performance data and plan for these groupings. Students move between these 2 leveled groups as their performance dictates. Our level 1 and 2 students, or the intervention block, are provided smaller class size in order to have extra support on a given topic, extra homework help, and opportunities to work with their teacher one-on-one. Our students in the other 2 classes, who are at level 3 and 4, are provided a highly rigorous learning environment and enriched learning opportunities. Not only does this configuration provide for each student to be challenged appropriately in their math instruction, it also creates an opportunity for students to have an initial experience of moving between teachers for their academics as a preparation for middle school. This bar graph shows the performance of our 4th graders in mathematics since we've been incorporating the use of flexible groupings. The gray scores on this graph show the strand data in number sense from October. The orange scores represent the strand data over the last 2 months. Using this model for differentiation, we now have more students at standard and many more students exceeding standard in the strand of number sense in 4th grade. We are very excited about the progress of these students as they are demonstrating and looking forward to continuing with this model of instruction. As I mentioned earlier, this fall, Lakeview added an additional learning center serving students with various handicapping conditions from throughout the school district in kindergarten and grade 1. An important part of the Lakeview culture is that we now provide learning center services for students in kindergarten through grade 5. This also provides PLC collaboration opportunities for the staff members who work with these students. The students in our learning centers range in abilities and disabilities. We look at each student as an individual, and as a team decide what parts of the school day integration will be most successful. These times of the day include circle or morning meetings, reading groups, specialists, recess, lunch, and field trips. As a school, we are working to be an inclusive community and appreciate this aspect of our diversity. This means we are striving to look at all students' abilities and strengths as we plan for these inclusionary experiences that enrich the lives of our general education students as much as our students in the learning centers. We believe that we all benefit from these opportunities and are learning that we are more alike than different from these new friendships in our school. Here's some examples of these partnerships at work. In this video, you are going to see 2 peer tutors helping with handwriting and Learning Center students attending math class with their general education 1st grade classmates.
some G's first. Savannah? Sure, of course you can. But first, let's trace the G. Could you trace me the G, please? Yeah. Good job. Now could you write P for me? Savannah, P.
Make the U a little bit curved.
No, Savannah.
Not
The P starts from here.
So write it one more time.
No, it starts from this. Then it goes down. Down, more down, over here. Good job. Then you curve like that.
So what is the animal?
And now, remember how to do the G. I know it's a fun part. Could you write me a G? You start from about line. No, that's the hat line. You start from here. Start from here, over here. You start from here. Savannah. Yes. Go down like that. Down. Good job. No stress.
First graders, I need your best listening skills right now. Everybody needs to stand up. This song, we're going to do a rhythm song. And it's really important that you listen to what the beat is and what they say, because you need to repeat it. Clap your hands. Stamp your feet. Tap your head. And they need to repeat it like you clap your hands. Stamp your feet. Tap your head. Just echo the beat. Rhythm, feel the beat. Listen to the sound and then repeat.
Over the last 3 years, we have been exploring the work of The Leader in Me. This program integrates the principles and practices of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People written by Stephen Covey into the school culture through a student curriculum and tools and techniques for staff members. Our exploration included a book study for staff, a site visitation to another school in the area using the program, and piloting the program in many of our school's classrooms last year. While we know Lakeview is already considered a high-performing school, we challenged ourselves to think about how we could take our school from good to great by continuing to build and improve upon our school's culture of learning. As we grew to know more about how leadership in the 7 Habits was seen as a combination of individual traits, which include planning, self-motivation, and interpersonal skills, we also felt this program would be an excellent resource for us as educators in the Lake Washington School District as well, given our responsibility to teach and assess the interdisciplinary skills and attributes in the school district. Lastly, the 7 Habits provide common language around the core beliefs that we shared as a staff in our work with the students at Lakeview. We wanted to further develop avenues where students were being responsible and accountable for themselves and who demonstrated mutual respect and understanding for each other. From our exploration, we were deeply inspired to pursue The Leader in Me further and have received a grant from Panda Express to provide us with resources to support our implementation over the next 3 years. Successful schools share a common mission and vision. As you can see from this representation, the 7 Habits serve as a foundation for our work with students. Our mission statement is, the Lakeview community works collaboratively to foster academic and personal excellence for each student through a compassionate, supportive, and safe environment. This fall, we adopted the vision statement, we learn, we lead, we live with integrity. At Lakeview, we are fortunate to have such an outstanding group of PTSA board members and parents who work tirelessly on behalf of Lakeview students and our staff. Some examples of this support include the academic program enhancement that is provided through teacher grants, mathematician in residence, Read Naturally volunteers, and field trips. Student safety by creating walking school buses. Community building events such as the barbecue, dance week, carnival, and watchdogs, which has started this fall, as well as our amazing enrichment program, which offers a vast assortment of opportunities ranging from ski school to Legos, as well as our cadre of parent art docents. In the fall of 2011, as we reviewed the data from our 9-characteristic survey, we decided to focus on working with community organizations to gain support for our students and our programs. Not only did we see a marked increase in the data as it went from 74% to 96%, but we also celebrated many meaningful partnerships, some of which are listed on this slide. I'd like to highlight King County Library System and Park Place Books, as they both have arranged and funded programs such as Author Talks and a highly engaging mathematics assembly for our students. In addition, Community Life Church met with me in the fall of 2011 to brainstorm ways we could partner to support Lakeview staff, students, and families. Not only have we enjoyed delicious luncheons that they have provided our staff, but we also have developed a pantry backpack program, which provides weekend meals for children in need that went from serving 12 families last year to 59 families this year. We have been deeply touched by the depth of gratitude we have received from these families and feel very fortunate to be able to provide this level of support for Lakeview students. On behalf of the Lakeview faculty and families, thank you for providing us this time to share our successes with you. We are grateful for the ongoing support you provide our school.
Thank you very much. That was very good. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Shauna, and thank you to all of your staff and families who came out this evening as well.
Thank you for having us.
And just for those here that are here from Lakeview, if you would like to stay with us through our recognition portion, and then we'll have a short break and let folks go home. But we have some students that are going to be recognized, and so might want to be here with us through that time.
So before we move to student recognition, we have some adult recognition to start with. And first we have a board member to recognize this evening. So that's Nancy Bernard, and Doug is going to do the honors here and present Nancy with her recognition.
Well, I was going to say our state association, as we know as WASDA, has done a better job, I think, of keeping track of membership and that sort of thing. But the community should know and be reminded of, the hours and in this case, years of work that school board members perform on behalf of the community. And in this case, our association is honoring Nancy Bernard for the 15 years that she has, in which she served this community as a school board member. And most people, I think, don't realize that, unlike even city council members and sewer commissioners and folks in those positions, school board members serve without any kind of pay and serve entirely as volunteers. And so it's a really meaningful, it's really meaningful on part of Nancy to have provided those 15 years for this community. So with that, I will give you a certificate suitable for framing.
And congratulations, Nancy.
Thank you. I'm speechless.
This is my enticement to keep you.
I just want to know where Jackie's is. I don't remember her getting one 2 years ago. That's how I remember how long I've been on the board, 2 years less than Jackie. We share a birthday, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Not date, not year.
I'm a lot younger.
Yeah, you're 15 years younger than I am.
I love it. Okay, our next.
Okay. Moving along here, we have another recognition to do, and so I'd like to invite Leanne Wood, who's the Executive Director of the Lake Washington Schools Foundation, up to the podium. The Schools Foundation was the recipient of a very generous grant from our waste management community partners. So I'm going to turn it over to Leanne to talk a little bit about that, and then she'll introduce our recognizee. Okay, thanks, Leanne. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Board of Directors. We appreciate the opportunity to recognize our friends from Waste Management tonight for their extraordinary investment of $225,000 in the current education and future success of our students by helping to launch Lake Washington School District signature programs. When I first met Mary Evans, who is Waste Management's Director of Public Sector Services for the Pacific Northwest, in July, I learned a lot about what Waste Management wanted to accomplish for our students and the community. To prepare students for both college careers as well as high-skilled labor jobs, they were looking to invest in something that would annuitize and grow, have staying power, and leverage similar corporate contributions from other businesses. Something that would be district-wide, innovative, and groundbreaking, but that had been under serious planning and development. They wanted that would make Waste Management's local and national business partners who would be joining them in raising the venture capital feel great about collaborating with Waste Management and Lake Washington School District in this investment in our students and in the community. With this criteria, we proposed Lake Washington School District signature programs to Waste Management. After 3 years of planning and development, our signature programs are on the precipice of being launched by Lake Washington School District high school principals. Game changers for our students and pathways for their success, this entirely new approach to preparing students directly responds to the 21st century challenges facing students, businesses, and communities. The growing demand for technology jobs in our community that can't be filled, bright young college graduates with student loan debt, uncertain about what they want to do with their lives, and students who want to work right out of high school and live in this community where they grew up, ready and willing to sustain and grow the next generation, but who will require high-paying, high-skilled jobs in order to do it. Mary Evans' closing words to Dr. Pierce in our final meeting were, "You are onto something big here." And when you work for a company that's with revenues of $13.4 billion, big takes on a whole new meaning. So with that, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mary's colleague, who is here to represent Waste Management, Rob Sherman. He's the Area Director and Collection Operation for Western Washington. Rob manages the operational, financial, safety, and efficiency performance for 6 collection and 3 transfer station locations throughout Greater Puget Sound area. Rob's here to share with you directly about Waste Management's perception and reasons and thoughts behind what they did and why they did it. Rob?
Good evening. Leanne already introduced me, but I am the Director of Operations for Western Washington, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight. And I want to thank the Board of Directors, Superintendent Dr. Tracy Pierce, Lake Washington School Board Foundation President, and Leanne Woods, Miss Peg Hunt in there. And so the bottom line is, when you think of waste management, you think often about your garbage company, but actually we're much more than that. And I want to talk a little bit about that. A generation ago, we were a company that picked up your garbage and threw it away. But today, we are reinventing our business model and reconsidering the nature of waste. Because as these students would tell you, there is no away anymore. There simply isn't. So our ultimate goal is zero waste to the landfill. And we're committed to finding the next big thing or small profitable thing that will help make that possible and make landfills a last resort. And that's why we're investing in alternative energy and recovery technologies. We're functioning as venture capitalists for entrepreneurial scientists looking for new ways to transform waste into useful products such as fuels and chemicals. And that's why we're happy to partner with you and to inspire the sharpest, innovative science and business minds for the future. A lot of them are sitting right here behind me right now. And we're thrilled to kindle the flame of education through our $225,000 investment in the new engineering signature programs within the STEM curriculum. We hope this partnership encourages other businesses to make similar investments with the Lake Washington Schools Foundation. You see, we're inspired by your commitment to prepare future-ready students to be innovators and problem solvers. We need as much science, technology, engineering, and math brain power as possible. And tomorrow's solutions and jobs won't look like today's opportunities. STEM is critical to our community's success, but how do you get young people excited about these subjects? Well, we think your new signature programs are the key, and we're pleased to complete the funding for and launch into reality 3 of the new programs: Global Engineering, Medical Bioengineering, and Environmental Engineering and Sustainable Design. We need more engineers. That's one of the reasons I'm happy to be here. You see, I'm a proud dad of an engineer. My daughter just graduated last year, and she now is an electrical engineer and has had a great job, and it's a great opportunity. But see, it was some of the teachers, and it's good to see some of the teachers here, that are in the schools that kind of inspired her and made her think outside the box and motivated her to go into a field that not a lot of girls go into. And I can only imagine what the impact of your signature programs would have had in my daughter's high school had they been there at the time. And that's really what our strategic investment is all about. Waste Management wants to help you enrich, engage, and empower young people to choose career in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. We're looking for people to help us create innovative technologies that help build sustainable communities. We're charting new territory in our industry, just as you are with these new signature programs. So remember, the next time you see our bright green trucks through your neighborhoods picking up recycling, yard waste, and garbage, think of us as your partner in education and your partner for a zero waste future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are so appreciative of the generous donation to our foundation, which enables the funding of the STEM signature programs beginning at the STEM high school. So we're very excited about the future and the future of our students. And so just again, thank you so much for partnering with us and for the generosity.
And we definitely will look at those trucks now a little differently when they come down the street.
Especially at 6 a.m.
Okay, and then our next set of recognition.
Yeah, so we do have a number of students with us here this evening to recognize, some of them potentially future engineers. We have our National Merit Commended students and semifinalists from Redmond High School here with us this evening. I'd like to invite John Holman, who's the Director of School Support for the Redmond Learning Community, to come on up to the podium. The administrators from Redmond High School would typically be here this evening, but they are actually on a school visit, visiting a STEM program in another area. So they're on a little bit of a learning site visit this evening. So John is here along with Brian from Redmond High School. So John, I will turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to recognize a number of our students from Redmond High School, all who have participated in the National Merit Scholarship process up to this point. I'd like to introduce Brian Anderson, current career counselor and former Redmond High School teacher, to help go through this process this evening and recognize our students.
Let's see. First, if I could have all of the commended scholars and the semifinalists, if you could just come up and make a little U up here.
Here they are.
Oh, thank you. First, what we'd like to do is just hand out the certificates. So I do want you to know that I talked to quite a few of the students. There's many who can't be here tonight due to sports commitments. They have to work on doing group projects or just felt that they just couldn't because of their homework for a whole variety of reasons. But we feel very lucky to have the students who came. So if you hear your name called, if you could come over. Zachary Barr. Sean Beecroft. Alex Binkard. Yeah, we're going to ask you to stay because we're going to ask you to talk in just a second. Sebastian Cho. Parker Danowski. Daniel Fang. David Fuhr. David Alvin Hidalgo. Rachel Kahn. Q Kim. Nicholas Kodati. Stephanie Lynn. Archana Mandava. Alexandra Minsk. Susan Nichols. Zach Olarashka. Amanda Reynolds. Chelsea Rice. Sarah Ruffin. Mitchell Schrader. Madeline Suggs. Brandon Tyre. Caitlin Wright. Hattie Yang. And now we'd like to move to the National Merit semifinalists. Isabella Brown. Aaron Daw. Oh, he's not here. It's his brother. Olivia Dietz. Meg Holtzinger. Sambit Jain. Jenny Kim. Ashley Martinez. Arthi Narayanan. Anand. Oh. Frank Q. Ishran Renati. Alexander Ronenberg. And Carl Ronenberg. Kanupriya Zanu. Vita Shubin. Daniel Wang. And Josh Yee. Let's see, if you could each come over, or do we have a handheld mic? I think we should just maybe pass it along, and if each one of you could just repeat your name again, and maybe tell us if everything goes perfect for your vision for next year, where will you be and what will you be doing?
Hello. Oh, there we go. All right. I am Parker Donowski, and if everything goes perfectly next year, I don't know exactly which college I want to go to, but I've applied to a few. I want to go to film school and become a director.
Hi, I'm Amanda Reynolds. I'd like to go to Georgia Tech and study chemical engineering.
Hi, I'm Isabella Brown. I also don't know where I'd like to go next year, but I'm interested in studying medicine.
Hi, I'm David Alban Hidalgo, and first of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to give thanks to my parents for all their support throughout the years. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And I'd like to go to college somewhere. And just, I don't really know what to do yet, so I'll just find my passion in college.
I'm Alex Brinkard. I just want to go to the University of Washington and do computer science.
Hi, I'm Frank Q, and I'm not really sure where I want to go, but I applied early this season to Columbia University, so I guess that's where I'm going if I get in. And I want to do engineering, but I'm not sure what yet.
Hi, my name's Ishan Ranade, and I'm not sure which college I want to go to next year, and hopefully I'll be studying engineering.
Hi, my name is Sambit Jain. I also don't know what college I'll end up at, but I hope to study physics or computer science.
I'm Madeline Suggs. I'm not really sure where I want to go yet, but one of my top schools is McGill University, and I want to study foreign language and cultural studies.
Hi, I'm Ashley Martinez, and I will be in college, ideally studying engineering.
Hi, I'm Alexander Ronneberg. I will be going to college, hopefully, and I will be majoring in undecided.
Let's see, the last thing we'd like to do is have the parents, if there are any parents here, please stand so we can recognize your hard work in raising these scholars. Thank you.
And congratulations to all of you. And we know wherever you go that you will be very successful in what you do there. And we wish you all the best. Okay, I'm going to let you, we'll take a 2 or 3 minute break in time for people that can get a chance to get up if they would like to leave. And you're welcome to stay if you would like to stay with us for the rest of our meeting. But we know many of you may want to get home, see your families, do homework for the rest of our students that are here. So we'll take a couple minutes so you can go ahead and do that if you'd like to. People who have signed up for public comment, I'll just briefly go through our requests for our folks who are coming forward. We would like you to use the center podium. Introduce yourself to us, please. We have a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. We do have a system of Vanna here showing us. And when the yellow light comes on, that lets you know that you have about a minute and should be wrapping up your comments. Everyone who signed up has the same topic that they have, so I'm going to make a request that you not repeat what the person in front of you said, just so that it makes it more relevant to the board to hear different aspects of the concerns rather than, or comments or whatever, than to hear a repetition from one to the other. So we'll begin with Beth.
We're back. I'm Beth Zimmerman, and I sat in on my first board work session tonight. As a former math curriculum designer, I found the topic to be quite interesting and thought the questions asked by the board were timely considering the implementation of the Common Core standards. With that, though, the reason we are back is that you're probably aware that last Thursday the district held an open house to share the 3 scenarios for the temporary boundary between Rosa Parks and Wilder. And first of all, we wish to thank the Boundary Committee for all their hard work in looking at the enrollment of these 2 schools, the development that's expected in Redmond Ridge, and the cohort tracking of current students. We know that we know what a challenging task this must have been in such a short time frame. What we would like to speak about tonight is how these scenarios were developed and the issues of true capacity, and this information will be shared on our boundary feedback form. We understand that these 3 scenarios were developed with the goal of achieving enrollment at both schools that does not exceed capacity. While most of the scenarios stay slightly below the school capacity of 713 students at Rosa Parks, they exceed the true capacity of the school. As we've described to the board on several occasions, we don't believe the true capacity of Rosa Parks is 713 students, which is expanded to that number only because of the 13 portables. Since the other school spaces, such as the playground, gym, bathrooms, commons area, have not been expanded, we believe the true capacity of Rosa Parks is no more than 667 students, which was the enrollment 2 years ago in 2010-11. With this enrollment, Rosa Parks only utilized 1 principal, not an associate principal, lunch in the commons, not in the classroom, 1 music teacher, not 2, and 1 PE class at a time, and not a double PE class. And for the 2nd year in a row, the students who are in 5th grade currently have 62 students in their PE class held in this school gymnasium. Those extra costs would not be needed if the enrollment at Rosa Parks is closer to the true capacity of the school, saving the school district significant dollars. We believe an enrollment close to or exceeding 700 students, as reflected in the current scenarios, is too high for Rosa Parks and does not achieve the goal of reducing overall capacity issues. We urge the committee to fine-tune the scenarios so that the enrollment at Rosa Parks is close to the true capacity of the school, just like the committee members tried to achieve at Wilder. Thank you.
Thank you. Julianne.
Good evening, Dr. Pierce and board directors. I'm Julianne Bogarty, Rosa Parks parent. As Beth mentioned, our community greatly appreciates the Temporary Boundary Committee's work to date. At the same time, we are very concerned that the true enrollment numbers for Rosa Parks for 2013-14 were not presented to the public at Thursday's open house or posted online. While a note appeared on the Boundary website indicating that grandfathering was not included in the 2013-14 projections, the total enrollment numbers for Rosa Parks in each scenario were not made available anywhere. The district told us grandfathering has always occurred with past reboundaries, and an FAQ on the district's website indicates the committee and superintendent will recommend grandfathering of next year's 5th graders and their siblings. So why not convey the total projected enrollment numbers up front rather than downplay the impacts of grandfathering? These total numbers really need to be published and shared with the community immediately in order to collect acceptable feedback. If grandfathering of these students is allowed, then potential enrollment for 2013-14 would increase by 37 to 56 students at Rosa Parks, depending on the scenario chosen. The first set of tables we provided to you reflects the enrollment that would be anticipated at both schools if all current 4th grade students and their siblings affected by the reboundary remained at Rosa Parks in 2013-14. We believe the majority of students who are provided with this opportunity would stay at Rosa Parks. As you can see, each of the scenarios keeps Rosa Parks at an enrollment around or above 700 students the first year, which is above the true capacity of Rosa Parks of 667 students, as Beth just described. The district's intent to grandfather 5th graders and their families was first revealed to the public through the Redmond Patch website Friday morning. The majority of our community currently has no idea that grandfathering will even occur next year, let alone the specific numbers associated with each scenario, since I only gathered this data in a phone call to Catherine Reif Friday. This obvious omission does not reflect the openness and honesty the community expects from the school district, and which is so critical to establishing trust and maintaining a positive approach to problem solving. The 3 scenarios and boundaries are challenging enough to assess, especially in the format presented without a chart comparing all options. Why not make a best effort to reveal the true enrollment numbers to the community so that feedback can be provided by respondents who have a more accurate, complete understanding of the impacts? Anything less devalues the entire community engagement process. We look forward to learning how the district intends to share these grandfathering numbers and succeed in gathering valid feedback. Thank you for listening and understanding how important transparency is in developing productive, trust-based relationships with key stakeholders.
Thank you. Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Swenson and a current Rosa Parks parent. We believe, as we mentioned, that the Boundary Committee did an honorable job in developing these scenarios, and I especially want to give kudos to Barbara Postumus for her amazing number crunching. If you've had a chance to review the community's preferred decision criteria, you'll see that the highest rated criterion by far by the survey respondents was maintaining neighborhoods. We believe that scenario C, which we did provide you a map of that if you haven't seen it online, is the closest scenario to achieving this goal, with one exception. In scenario C, the Deveron neighborhood was carved out of Redmond Ridge East and would be the only neighborhood in Redmond Ridge East not attending Wilder. Neighborhoods to the north across the street and to the south would attend Wilder, while one small sub-neighborhood would attend Rosa Parks. This small neighborhood is separated by almost a mile of forest from Rosa Parks, and those children would be expected to walk to school. We believe the whole Deveron neighborhood should stay together and attend the same school. Many families in Redmond Ridge East feel the same way and find this boundary line confusing. One individual was just here that was going to speak tonight from Redmond Ridge East, but she hadn't been home after work and wanted to tuck her child in. The Boundary Committee stated that a straight line between Redmond Ridge and Redmond Ridge East could not be achieved without going significantly over capacity at Wilder. We definitely don't want that to happen, but we don't think it will happen, and here's why. According to Barbara Postumus, there are 10 current students in this North Deveron neighborhood and 19 future potential students for a total of 29 students. The second table that we provided you reflects the enrollment at both schools if North Deveron is included with the rest of Redmond Ridge East in the Wilder boundary. The Boundary Committee believed that 577 students could be accommodated at Wilder, as presented in their original numbers for Scenario A. Including North Deveron in the Wilder boundary would generally be within the capacity of 577 students at Wilder Elementary, as deemed acceptable by the Boundary Committee. It would not necessitate any additional portables at Wilder. It would be within the true capacities for both schools, and it would keep neighborhoods together. We are requesting that the Boundary Committee fine-tune Scenario C and revise the boundary line to maintain neighborhoods by including the North Deveron neighborhood within the Wilder boundary. With the Carson reboundary process in Sammamish, community input on proposed scenarios helped determine the final boundary lines. We're asking for the same opportunity. Our community would also appreciate an updated timeline for committee action prior to the board vote in January. And we will be providing this, as we said, on our forms. And we thank you for your careful consideration of this important issue and are confident that together we can find a real solution that benefits everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela? She's the one that had to leave. Okay, I'm sorry. Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Townsend, and thank you for listening to us today. I'm actually here as a Redmond Ridge East parent, and I wanted to talk about grandfathering. And most of the children who live in Redmond Ridge East, especially the older elementary kids, this will be their third school when they're moved to Wilder, because Redmond Ridge East is a new community, and the ones who are older elementary, they moved here from another area. That was school 1. Now they're being sent to they were sent to Rosa Parks, which is school 2, and now they're being sent to Wilder, which would be school 3. I have a child who is a 4th grader currently at Rosa Parks Elementary. We've got other parents in the same situation. We would love to see the grandfathering taken into account for them as 5th graders for next year, so that they don't have to attend a 3rd school in their elementary school career or whatever we want to call it. It also said about siblings on the of current 4th graders on the website, the FAQ section. I have a child who is going to be entering in kindergarten next year, as do some of the other people that we've talked to, and it's not very clear in the language as to whether kindergartners would be included in that or not, as to whether they would need to register at Wilder or whether they would need to register at Rosa Parks with their siblings. So we would like a clarification on that when this language comes about for all this too. So as a working parent, this is a definite issue for my family because we have both parents work in our family, and the idea of having two different elementary school kids in two different schools is definitely going to be an issue in some households. My son is a kindergartner. I would love to see him be able to go to school for his kindergarten year with his big sister and get on the bus and ride with that, because the Redmond Ridge East kids are going to be bused either way. And so the idea of having siblings on buses, really young ones especially, that would be, I would feel much safer as a parent having them be together on a bus. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sai?
Good evening, Superintendent Prayers, President Pendergrass, and other board members. Thank you for giving me this time today. I am a parent of current Rosa Parks Elementary student in 2nd grade, and my older daughter, a 5th grader, now at Explorer Community School, was a ex-Rosa Parks Elementary student, and you saw her in one of these sessions back in September. We have been working towards a common goal, and I remember Christopher's, if I say your first name, I hope it's okay. So suggestion, not suggestion, but explanation of the process that it's going to be excruciatingly slow, but it's a system that works. So we have high hopes that you will provide us something that the community and the school and most importantly, the kids can reflect upon achieving something together, which is great for them, for their future, for their experience at the school. When I looked at the map last week, my expectation was it is going to be a very simple map showing these students from these homes go to this school and these students from these homes go to this school. And end of the story, we are all happy. We have a win-win situation. It's simple. There are some sacrifices to be made across everybody, but in the end, we are all happy. There is a clear goal. But the plan, as I started understanding more and more, it's very difficult for me to even explain to my 5th-year-old kid. It's so complicated. When I tried to explain this to her, she had only these 5 points. I can even show you the video if you want from her speech. Can my friends, my sister, walk within the building without having to go from the portable back to the building to go to the bathroom? Can they have a bigger, wider playground to play with? Can everybody fit into the same assembly room? Can my sister's friends see her getting some award or recognition? Because her friends are across many classrooms, not just her classroom. So I have to say that I am supremely disappointed in lack of having a concerted, common, simple approach to the solution for this problem. There is still a lot of time. Please work with us, help the community, help the school, help the children. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Sure.
She also resides in Redmond Ridge East, so if you can give her name, please.
Okay. And
I'm
just
not that
let
tall.
us know who you are.
My name is Kim Flamio Hagemeyer, and I'm a parent. My children attend Rosa Parks Elementary School, and I live in the Redmond Ridge East section. Thanks for giving everyone the opportunity to provide feedback on the decision criteria for the boundary scenarios, which revealed the highest priority was to maintain neighborhoods. Scenario C generally keeps our neighborhood together but carves out the North Deveron neighborhood. We are asking that all of Deveron is included in the Wilder boundary so that our neighbors can all attend the same school. Everyone I've spoken with in the Redmond Ridge East as well as Redmond Ridge believes that keeping our entire neighborhood together is very important, especially since we're so close to doing so in Scenario C. We appreciate all the hard work the Boundary Committee has put in so far developing these scenarios, and that we ask the committee slightly adjust the boundary in Scenario C. I also wanted to input, I have a 4th grader that would be grandfathered in, and I have an incoming kindergartner. So I would also like to have better language coming out regarding the grandfathering clause. Thank you.
Thank you. And as I understand it, the process is in process, so you're collecting information currently from the neighbors, right?
That's correct. The Temporary Boundary Committee held the open house last week, and a number of people alluded to that. So they are in the process of collecting all of the feedback on written forms from people who were in attendance at the open house, and the forms are also available online so people can provide their feedback then. So the next step is for the Temporary Boundary Committee to gather and analyze all of the feedback and to ultimately make a recommendation to me that I will then bring forward for approval to the board. So we can, I will work with them in terms of timelines so we can make sure that it's very clear. I know we have a part on the district website devoted to the process and work of the Temporary Boundary Committee, and we'll make sure that there's a timeline explicit there. And so I will, we've got members of the Temporary Boundary Committee here this evening, and I heard you all mention that you were giving your written feedback as well, so that's really important. And of course, we will make sure that committee representatives get the information that you shared with us this evening.
So structurally, these three are not set in stone as the only alternatives. They can be fine-tuned. There's still fluidity and flexibility and possible.
And we have in the past, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, that sounded good. The only concern I didn't hear addressed was at the beginning, I think a couple of the speakers were concerned about true enrollment figures being provided. And so I think to the extent that we can do that, we should try to get those up on the website or however is most appropriate so that people have those numbers.
Yeah, so I tried to take really good notes, and of course we'll be able to go back through using the video to make sure we heard all the concerns and can present those to the committee for response.
And I think the only thing that I heard several times, and it's always a question every time we do boundary, is about grandfathering and the clarity of it and who is and how it impacts them, and especially those who have kids at both ends of the spectrum. I think we heard with 2 kindergartners, how is that going to work? So if we could be sure that that language is really clear and maybe information goes to families at the school to know what grandfathering really means.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from board members? And I know there is a deadline for these surveys, right, to be done? And do we have that off the top of our heads?
We've seen different dates.
Okay, so December 10th is when you'd like to have them turned in by? We have a ghost that likes that little Microsoft sound.
And
it's just random.
Is that timeline on the website? Does the website have the information of when the due date is for the forms? Okay, thank you.
So those people who might be at home listening to us or see this at a later time as they're looking for information, December 10th is when that information should be completed, preferably on the 9th, but so it'll be there by the 10th. And then the next step will be the analysis by the committee.
Correct.
Okay.
Will any of these clarifications get up to the website in the meantime?
I'm going to make sure I get all of this information to the committee, and they will be able to make sure that as much, I think I want to highlight that our interest in this whole process and from the beginning is to be as transparent as possible, no intention of holding any information back or trying to confuse anyone or, play any tricks or anything. So I think if there's some confusion or lack of clarity, that's something that I'm glad people are raising and that we need to make sure that we're addressing. So it's as clear as possible. So I took good notes, and we're going to make sure that there's clarity.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next is our consent agenda. So I'd entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Tracy, will you poll the board, please?
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy? Jackie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Siri?
Yes.
Okay, so we have donations.
Yes, this evening we have a total, absolutely, of $86,987 of donations, so quite a generous list. We've got a $27,514 donation from the Laura Ingalls Wilder PTSA to Wilder Elementary to purchase netbooks, supplies, to support field trips, to provide grants for specialists and student council, for Math Olympiad enrichment, for choir enrichment, and a host of special programs at Wilder. We've got a $2,260 donation from the Rachel Carson PTSA to Carson Elementary to provide a stipend for choir and music for their enrichment program. A $2,843 donation from Evergreen Middle School PTSA to Evergreen Middle School to purchase student planners. A $5,823 donation from the Eastlake High School PTSA to Eastlake High School to purchase computer mice and science replacement supplies, prep room equipment, an Algebra Ready program, supplemental reading materials, independent 9th grade library books, and softball equipment. We have a $4,332 donation from the Eastside Women's Basketball to Eastlake High School to provide 2 stipends for an assistant basketball, or for assistant basketball coaching. A $6,200 donation from the Krista McAuliffe PTSA to McAuliffe Elementary to provide grants for teacher and specialist wish lists to purchase academic classroom resources, to provide release time for planning and professional development. We've got a $7,366 donation from the Peter Kirk PTSA to Kirk Elementary to provide, to support a staff development, professional development grant. We have a $4,100 donation from the Kirkland Middle School PTSA to Kirkland Middle School to provide stipends for their Power Hour and their homework lunch catch-up cafe. And that's catch-up like ketchup, not ketchup and mustard. For students to catch up on their homework. We have a $9,190 donation from the Emily Dickinson PTSA to Dickinson Elementary to provide teacher stipends for choir and math club. An $11,802 donation from the Lakeview PTSA to Lakeview Elementary to purchase IXL math licenses and to provide stipends for choir, marathon, math club, and student leadership. A $1,556 donation from the Horace Mann PTSA to Mann Elementary to purchase some bookcases. And last but not least, a $4,000 donation from the Peter Kirk PTSA to Kirk Elementary to support field trips and grade level enrichment. So quite a generous list and lots of schools represented for a total of $86,987.
And as always, a very big thank you to all those PTSAs that have made the donations. We have a basketball group as well, and schools, I know, appreciate every bit of this, be able to do the extra things for kids.
Most definitely.
Okay, now we're on to our non-consent agenda. So I think this is Heather's time, isn't it?
Yes, so Heather Sinclair, our Associate Superintendent of Student and School Support, is here this evening to present our end result 2-3 ER 2-3 monitoring report for high school.
It's visiting. Programs.
Good evening. Yes, I'm back. Dr. Pierce, would you like to take us through the first few slides?
Yeah, we're going to go really quickly. We've just provided some context in these first slides, so Heather will go quickly here, but we are reporting our end results for students based on our end result policy. We've got our reporting calendar, so we're now in senior high. We're now in December doing the senior high report, and next month we will have ER1 to look at our postgraduate data. We are focused on how our students are performing because it's all about our mission and vision. and connected to the skills and attributes that we want our students to leave us with that are found in our student profile and guiding principles. Go ahead, Heather. We always look at the data disaggregated by group and look at the data over time, built on actual student performance data. And Heather will present both by class of, so we can see how those same students are progressing over time, as well as how are we looking at our grade level over time performance. Our policy spells out the data that we look at, so you'll see some AP data and some other state assessment data this evening. And in addition to the large-scale look at data that we put together and present for our end result monitoring reports, we also spend a lot of time, and you heard Shauna Roth's principal at Lakeview mention data dashboard in the school SIP work. We spend a lot of time from the district level and at the school level looking at our data in our data dashboard. So most of the data you'll see tonight is based on the high school proficiency exam, which students take in 10th grade, as well as the end of course assessment data, end of course 1 and 2 in math, and the biology end of course assessment. And you know, really what we're looking at is building toward students' overall college and career readiness. So this is another leading indicator at the high school level, and ultimately we come back with ER1 to look at how well did we actually do, not just in graduating our students, but preparing them for college and post-secondary. So I'll turn it to you, Heather.
Okay, thank you. This is just a reminder of our overall demographics in the school district. And you will see later on these subgroups disaggregated, but to give you a sense of relationship to numbers and percentages. So we're going to start with the class of 2015. These are our current sophomores, but this data is based on spring of 2012. Now, 9th grade is an interesting year. They don't have MSP, nor do they take HISP. So, Siri, I really did this for you because you said you wanted to see it over time, see the reading and the writing. And so these are 6 years of reading data for this class.
So cohort data.
It is cohort data, correct.
Lovely. I like cohort data. But it's still the class of, so it's not true cohort.
It's not clean cohort, because we know we have some students move in and some students move out. So this is, I go back to 3rd grade when they were in 3rd grade and how they did through the 8th grade.
That's a good question, though. Do we have any numbers? I mean, maybe it would even be hard to figure out. When we look at something like that, what percentage of a class is with us for that long? Do we even have that idea?
I don't know if we have it for this particular class, but in past years we have looked at matched cohort data sets to see it's the matched set, so it's the same exact students over time. We don't have that tonight in the data that we're presenting, but
we can pull that out when we want to or need to. You can pull that out if you need to. Do we have an average number idea? Like on average, you might say that 75% of our kids have been with us for their entire career, or do we even know?
Yeah, we can follow up on that. What we have now in the dashboard are the students who've been with us more than 3 years or less than 3 years. We can see if we can get from the data center an actual.
Not if it's going to take a lot of time. It's more curiosity than anything else.
I guess I'd ask it a different way, and I think it's probably a retreat question, but just overall mobility in our district compared to maybe other districts, just to get a sense of, I know for some districts, for example, Clover Park, which is impacted by Fort Lewis, huge mobility, and it's a huge factor. Probably Bremerton as well, but in our case, it'd be interesting to see kind of what our student mobility is.
And it would be interesting to break it down by kind of
By
learning
area.
community.
Because it's probably going to vary.
I mean, just looking at the graph, though, there isn't a lot of change over that time frame.
There is not a lot of
So we don't
change.
have a lot of movement, even
Right.
though they're different kids, it's looking from a
Right,
cohort.
right.
Okay.
Right. That is the same group of kids. Ish, right. I wanted to show you the writing because I think the last time you saw only 2 data points. So these are students the first time in 4th grade and then again when they took it in 7th. And we do see an upward movement in the trend line. And with our science, these students took it for the first time in 5th and the first time in 8th. And while we still have gaps, the direction of the line is going in the right direction.
Yeah, but this shows what they've been saying for years now, that we can move kids along, but do we close the achievement gap? And this would say well, we don't have much of a gap with that first group, but then we do have the gaps. But we've closed them a little bit, but we're still not closing them.
The problem, you're missing the state and what happened with the state data at that time.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of state-driven.
Yeah.
So in answer to your previous question, 80% of the kids were with us for 3 years prior to that. So.
And you got that, that's in the dashboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Cool.
281 versus 1,429. So, yeah, most of them have been here for a significant amount of time.
So not a lot of mobility.
Well, basically, sorry, I mean, I'm thinking that I have exactly the same nerd moment where I really like to see a proper cohort, but at the same time, I know the energy that's involved in making a proper cohort. And the investment of energy for an 80% is already for sure, I'm not sure is worth the investment.
Thank you.
I kind of agree, but curious.
Yeah.
Okay, we started to talk about this a bit during our work session, and the difference with the EOC math and Math 1 and Math 2, as well as the EOC biology, is they are not given to all the children in a class of the same year, as you'll see a little later on in the HISP and you've seen in the MSP. There's a point in time where every 8th grader gets the MSP. With the EOC, you could have a 7th grader take Algebra 1, the EOC 1, you could have an 8th grader, these are all in the same class of, an 8th grader take it, as well as you could have 9th graders take it, and potentially even sophomores. So what we're trying to figure out, because the state is not tracking it very well, is really to get a look at our peer numbers. So we're looking at the class of 2015, how many of those 10th graders have already passed and are at standard at the EOC? Because the class is, there's 1,603 students in this particular class. When you add this particular EOC as well as when they took it the previous, students that took it the previous year, the numbers add up to 1,799. So you have some students who have taken the EOC 1 more than once, as it would appear.
Is that possible, or do you take the makeup EOC if you don't pass it the first time?
You do take the makeup EOC, but what happened with this particular group, our 7th, when they were in 7th grade and in algebra, the EOC was not available. It didn't come on board until 2011. So when they were in 8th grade taking geometry, they would have taken the makeup algebra. So that's why the numbers are really funky. But just to remind all of us, is the class of 2015, for a graduation requirement, they have to take and pass the EOC 1, EOC 2, and EOC biology, as well as the HISP reading and writing, culminating project, high school and beyond. So these are students who did take the EOC 2. They would have taken this as ninth graders, so these were students who were enrolled in geometry, and we had 738 total. And you can see we did pretty well.
Because that's the section that's ahead in our math curriculum. Okay.
Correct.
Because they took an 8th grade algebra to be able to be in 9th grade geometry or finish the CMP to move on.
Or they were in the CMP 8 and went right into geometry as ninth graders. This, again, it's not a very complete representation because we only had 206 ninth graders take the EOC biology. We currently had, last year we had 4 junior highs that offered biology as a ninth grader, and then we had the Cambridge program at Juanita High School. And Emerson K-12 and Emerson High School had about 11 kiddos who had students in this cohort. This number will grow when they're sophomores because the more traditional path for biology is their sophomore year. Okay, then we looked at credits, and at the end of ninth grade, to be on track for graduation, they should have earned 6 credits. And these are the percentage of our students who have earned 6 credits by the end of ninth grade. So out of 1,603.
So really only 1/3 of our students on free and reduced lunch have earned 6 credits by the end of 9th grade.
Why do we not, okay, these are averages. We do have a lot of kids that are 100%, right?
We do have students who, yes, who are at, so.
These are 84%.
1,603, we have 84% who have earned.
Okay, yeah, I was going to go.
Who have earned 6 credits.
Chunk of kids who are behind
That's still
the end of
quite
ninth
a
grade.
bit.
And I think that's part of what we're going to be doing with intervention and looking at credit retrieval programs, because you'll see the numbers, because we did the same thing with the 11th graders and 12th graders too.
Yeah, step one really in developing the data dashboard and including this as a key performance indicator is so we could make sure that we were paying close attention to not just things like state assessments and grades, but our students earning the credit required in the appropriate areas. We set the key performance indicator as 6 credits, knowing that students in their 4 years, 9 through 12, have 24 spots, 6 spots a year, a total of 24, to earn their 22 required credits. So students who don't earn 6 credits, we're considering them to be, not on track. They would be showing up in the yellow band or red band. So we're paying attention to why is that? Is it because they were enrolled in a safety net course that doesn't earn them credit in a required area? What are the reasons and what do we need to do to make sure that if it's because they're failing a core class or an elective class, they have a plan and we're helping them develop a plan for getting back on track for graduation.
So just, that's helpful. Just back of the envelope, if 68% of our low income haven't hit their target, that's 140 kids, whereas the 16% of the 1,600 is only 256. Literally more than half of our kids who are not at that point are the low-income kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's a parameter I think we need to worry about.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, these ninth graders were housed in our junior highs when they earned this. And so it'll be interesting to, as we move forward, to look to see if there's any change now that they are earning their credits in the high school setting.
One of the things we have done in the SIP template updates for this year is to ask principals to use the dashboard, look at their data, and set specific goals for intervening for students who aren't on track. So we agree this is not where we want our kids to be.
And I know that we don't need to do this every year, but because this is the year of change from this year to next year, I'd like to see this slide compared to when you bring us a year from now, this same slide, side by side, to see the improvement. And we may want to think about doing that with some of the others, that with the movement of ninth grade from middle school to high school, how much of a difference did it make with the kids?
Yes, I mean, I think more importantly is we got 16% that we're not getting to do all their 6 classes regardless of where they're at.
Yep.
And there are definitely systemic and programmatic issues to look at to do that.
Yep.
And when you're looking into it, the fact that the low income is way behind even our ELL and our SPED kids, who get possibly a lot more support and intervention.
That's true. If they're in ELL program and they have an IEP, they are getting additional support.
So we've said all along we don't have enough support for all of our kids.
But that could also be, they also have special classes and specially designed instruction in which they could be meeting their credits that way. So it's a component of looking at really what courses are the free and reduced, the low-income students taking and not passing. So it's a lot of research, be a great deep dive, as we've talked about, to learn a little bit more.
And informs how are we structuring the interventions, so we're not structuring interventions that are helping students potentially who aren't meeting standard in an area, but that intervention is preventing them from then earning the credit in the required areas. So it's how do we look at the big picture?
Well, and are these students in more than one category, these low-income students? Are they also in ELL? Are they also, you know, I don't know how much crossover there is.
We can, in that drop down in the dashboard where you can select more than one disaggregation, we can answer that question.
Well, and this aligns with what we see on test scores. This aligns with what we see everywhere. So it's just another way of presenting the achievement gap. Where we should be able to target this very clearly. It's clear when a student is failing a class.
It won't be the only solution, but with the state's goal of having the college-bound scholarships for low-income kiddos, and they were signed up, had to be signed up by the end of 8th grade. So it would have been, you know, children in this class were involved in it. You know, it's that reminder that there is potential, there's funding available for you should you keep up your grades and so on. So that information has been shared from the junior highs, now middle schools, to the high schools, so those counselors are aware and can keep, you know, on track with those kids.
And I know that Juanita has taken on a building-wide emphasis of staff to work with all their kids with the mentality and idea of you can go on, you know, college is important. We're trying to help you get there, have you successful. Be curious to see how, because it's a couple years in the making.
Yeah, they've been working on their DREAM project and have connected with the University of Washington and have student mentors working with their students.
I'd be kind of curious, especially knowing their demographics, how successful that is turning out to be.
This might be a good time to also mention that just today we participated in a University of Washington study last year that involved researchers giving a survey to students to understand their thinking about college and post-secondary. What did they plan to do? Have they completed financial aid forms? Why or why not? A whole bunch of information. We had 560-some students participate in all the 4 comprehensive high schools, and we were looking at that to see how can, in addition to our kind of quantitative data for ER1 about how our students do, how did students who just have now left us, because the survey was given to juniors and seniors, what can we learn from what our students are telling us about what we could potentially do to help them see a clearer path to post-secondary, and what are some obstacles in their way. So you'll see some of that coming in the ER1 report.
It would be great, because that might help address some of these issues as far as how to help close the gaps.
And then part of that plan is I'm going to share it with the directors of school support, who will then sit down with their high school principals to, you know, what information can we glean from this, what specific action steps can we take to address some of this?
Yeah, because we got school-by-school reports.
Oh, good.
And a district-wide report. Very good.
The key thing, students and motivation, I do think is a piece of what goes on, but at the same time, I think it's those supports we're providing and how we are breaking barriers for them to be able to do so. I think free and reduced lunch, low income have a harder time. Higher income families can hire a tutor, can help fill in those gaps if needed. That might not be provided. So I think we have to be very broad based on looking systematically as to what we do better.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think too, sometimes the obstacles that are in the way of students that might be low income and our family and other issues that maybe take more priority in their family than school, that are harder to get over, even when we have things in place. Sometimes family dynamics impact tremendously what some of our kiddos can do as far as being in school and learning and doing the stuff.
And not to add to this, but we find that at the high school level, we have students who underreport low income. So we probably have more students who are really low income than what the numbers suggest.
Yes.
Just one last thing. This particular class, current 10th graders, they will take the HISP for the first time as a whole group. So we'll get to see that data on this group next year for both reading and writing. Okay, class of 2014, they are currently juniors, and this is how they performed last spring on the reading HISP. And I'm sorry, we do not have 1,547 students in low income. I'm not quite.
Non-low income.
This is non.
Oh, non-low income, thank you.
Yes. You added a line.
Like, oh my goodness, that's not right.
I did the same thing though at first, and then I went, no, it's the wrong color.
Yeah. And as we've said before, students that are in ELL, they test out eventually, so that's a group that's very, very volatile. There's a lot of mobility with that group.
The gaps are? Gotcha.
It's 1 out of 5. It's depending on what you use.
And then this is our writing results, and again, I think we have really good success with our reading and writing. I can't speak to the test itself, but I know we have had a great emphasis on writing in our high schools for the last several years, as well as reading through our graduation performance requirements.
Right. Although it is always faster. You look at the HISP in 10th grade and you look at those students in 8th grade, and there's a big jump between 8th and 10th of the numbers passing. So I question if that's a test artifact more than, because if we haven't been able to do it for the 8 years prior, I wonder why we suddenly succeed in our last 2.
One of the things potentially we could do is to have some time to look at the released items, the difference between, they post the released items on the OSPI website. It just might be interesting for us and to report back kind of what are we seeing as the differences in the 8th grade test compared to the 10th grade test.
I mean, the other, you look at just low income here, you have 87%, you have over 80% passing on both the reading and the writing. Yet in 9th grade, we had only 32% getting 6 of their credits. So there's some odd disparities in the way.
Right. And one possible, which just conjecture at this point, would be if you're in addition to your regular LASS class, a reading safety net course. That's helping you potentially meet standard on the reading HISP, but it's taking up one of your spots to earn credit. So you're not earning a credit for that.
wouldn't you be learning an elective credit? I mean, I would assume a safety net class would count as your elective credit, or an LA credit, or...
Well, you get your, I mean, that's a good point, so I suppose it would be your elective credit.
Right, that would be my guess.
Yeah, it wouldn't fulfill a content requirement. Wouldn't be counted as an English credit.
Right, but the not getting 6 credits is more based off the fact that they had to have failed a course or weren't taking a full load in order to not to get the 6 credits. True?
Correct. Or they were taking more than, and so I'd have to go back and look at the KPI. So when we developed the KPI for the dashboard, we said, you know, what does it mean to be on track? And you have to not just earn credit, but you have to earn it in the right areas. So if you're taking more, just trying to think of an example where if you're potentially taking more elective credit than your core. Yeah, I'm just wondering, we'd have to go back and look at it, but I'm wondering if that impacts any of the credit part. Something we need to dig into.
Be good to know, to get an idea. If we're looking at failing a course, or, because I mean, it's the failing a course in 9th grade that I remember as the indicator towards graduation.
We have some students who have taken courses that count towards high school in the 8th grade, a world language or a math, a geometry. They have not pulled those up yet. So that usually doesn't happen until, you know, they're later in their high school career. Okay. This again is that same kind of craziness we're dealing with in terms of the collection of the math data. But on this particular slide, it shows that as 10th graders, we had 1,008 students who had taken the EOC. And again, we're not sure that that has really captured all of our students yet. Our African-American students, it shows a blank there because we had less than 10 students, so they wouldn't give the results because it's identifiable. And then this is the current sophomore class, and by the end of their sophomore years, they needed to have accumulated 12 credits. And those are our percentages. So we have 74% of the total who have collected 12 or more credits.
Then how do we graduate 92% of our kids?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'll
I'm
explain
sorry,
it.
that figure has stuck in my head back here, and this doesn't reflect that.
If I recall, it's 22 credits is required.
That's correct. So
I understand, but if you're behind already, how many more, do you have enough time to catch up now?
You can miss 2 credits in the first 2 years, but then you got to.
Yeah. So we did each grade, 9-12, and said by the end of semester 1, what does it mean to be on track? And our methodology was 3, end of semester, first semester 9th grade, 6, so end of year, okay, then 9, 12, and then, so by the time you get to 11th grade, it's, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, we were looking at it today.
15,
it's like you really
18.
only have to earn about 3 credits in your 12th grade year, because the way we wanted it as an early intervention system, not that they're, you know, not going to graduate, but we want to know if you're not earning all of your 6 credits and why, and just make sure that we're tracking. So that's why we were kind of hard or had a high standard early on, so it would serve as an early warning system. So we don't find ourselves having 12th graders. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I guess, now looking at this, does this mean they're only missing 1 credit? Or are they missing, I guess?
If they're missing a half a credit, they would be here. They could have 17.5 and not be on track.
Okay.
Based on our business rules.
True red flags then for really concern about will they make it at the end? I mean, a half credit, a credit, 2 credits are probably okay. Do we have a place in here so you know the kiddos who really are not on track? I mean, that they're behind enough credits that it's going to be a struggle.
So in our dashboard color coding, students either show up in the green band on track. So these students would be in the green band, yellow or red, and we've got different, a definition behind what makes you show up in the yellow band or the red band. So if you show up in that red band, it means you are the farthest behind and we need to pay most attention to you. So that's all in that KPI definition sheet.
And I'm mostly asking these things for those people out there that are listening and wondering about looking at these
Exactly.
numbers and have no idea
So
how
when
many credits this means.
So when a principal, is looking at his or her data for this particular class and they hover over the students in the yellow band, those student names pop up. And so we know who they are, we know exactly where their credits are distributed, if they're missing credits in electives, in their, English, social studies, the full gamut.
Good. And I just, again, I think it's important for people who are listening to understand how they use this and what this can mean.
Okay. Moving to this year's seniors, the class of 2017. I just lost a couple of years, 2013.
They don't want to stay with us that long.
This is how this group has done on the HISP. And writing. And then this class, as well as the last class, they only have to graduate with having completed one EOC. And it could be in geometry or it could be in algebra. And so this just reflects the EOC 1. And then their credits are 18 accumulated by the end of their junior year. So if they had 17.5, they would
be here.
I'm just surprised at the percentages, honestly, when I look at that, and I think, really? Is that because they're choosing not to take courses? That's my question. Are they not taking full loads, or have we made a really funky indicator that's not? If we're I'm hard-pressed with that.
Yeah, because I'm used to kids getting most of their credits in their first 3 years and their senior year being low.
Yeah, so it just seems odd. I don't have an answer. I just know that, because this is saying, a fourth of our kids haven't taken a full load all 3 years and passed all of them. Does that seem reasonable? I don't know. I tossed that out.
I think it's unusual for a freshman, sophomore, junior not to take a full load. I think if, when they get to their senior year, they may request that early dismissal or late arrival, but it's generally during their senior year, if at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to, too. Most kids usually have all their credits, which is interesting to look at this.
So I just wonder if it's not what pulling something a little differently than we should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just thinking.
Okay, our advanced placement, these are our numbers, and included in this group are our students that graduated last year, so we have 4 years. Just looking at the class of 2012, that group averaged, so let me just take you across, 964 students were enrolled in AP classes, and those 964 students took up 2,160 seats. So on the average, you had individuals taking 2.24 classes, so 1 to potentially 4. Those same students, 964, took 689 exams, and that meant 71% of those students took the exam. Not all of our students who take AP classes take the exam. And then the number of exams, 1,343, with a pass rate of 75.6%. of a 3, 4, or 5.
And thank you for this, because we've been asking for the actual number of students enrolled, because the number of courses is a big number. And so this gives a more real picture of how many kids actually take AP.
Again, go ahead, I'm sorry.
At least one class in AP.
And are these only the AP courses they would have taken in that year? So it wouldn't count if they took anything junior year or
Correct.
sophomore
So
year?
this is data reported from 11-12. So the class of 2013, that's 744. Those are numbers that they, from their 11th grade year. And those students averaged about 1.9 or 2 classes per student per AP, 2 AP classes per student, with about 69% taking the exams.
And it makes sense, because the younger ones are taking less, and they get more and more as they get further along.
And then we have a small group of students in the, who are sophomores, 30 of them were enrolled in AP classes. And I really want to find out the name and what the course was of this youngster who is a freshman.
As a ninth
was
grader,
taking
yes.
this AP class.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what they would take.
But he didn't take the test, or she didn't take the test, so.
We're not sure.
I think it's unusual. It used to
Just
be
trying to think
that
what
sophomores weren't allowed to take
subject it could be
AP
in as a
classes,
ninth
and I
grader.
think,
Wouldn't think it would be
so they
now.
have to have unusual gifts and reasons to
Could be the
take
one.
them.
There have been prerequisites that have to have been met, so I know that at ICS, we have students who are sophomores who are enrolled in AP classes because they've met the prerequisite earlier.
As it as well, that you
Yeah.
can
But
be in an
it
AP
never
class.
made sense to prohibit it if they met the prereqs.
I'm going to expect this will grow.
I think it will, too, yeah. That's great. Thank you for changing this.
Really, the thank you, I have to say, goes to Dan Phelan, but
Well, pass it along, please.
I
Tell
will.
Dan we said thank you.
I will, thank you. Okay, this is our running start enrollment into the school year 11-12. This is an average over the course of the year. And in talking to Barbara and her assistant Laurel, we average about 9% of our students who are enrolled in running start. And this has been fairly consistent. And then I did the full-time running start average for each of the high schools. So average of 10 students were enrolled full-time, and then at Eastlake, and then 66 were taking part-time running start courses. And I don't know if this was shared last year, but the rule changed. We used to be able to claim 2.0 FTE for running start, and that was changed. So the most a student could take is 1.2 for running start.
Last year's law.
Which means exactly what? I'm sorry.
What that means is if they take, their total FTE can only add up to 1.2. They used to be able to have a full-time schedule at the high school and a full-time schedule at the college, equaling 2.0. Now, they could take a 0.6 with us and and they would only be allowed to take a 0.6 at the college. If they are enrolled full-time with us at our high school, they can only take a 0.2 at the college.
Which would mean like one class.
One course.
Okay.
So it's limited them. Okay. I know it looks like a spider, but I just wanted to show you, and just for fun, I didn't go back all the way to 1999, but I did start with 1999, so you could see, that there has been that growth. So this is our 10th grade reading, WASL, and HISP, and you can see the HISP started in 2010. Prior to that, it was the WASL. Even though there's not a huge difference in the gender, I think it's good to share that, our young women and young men are competing. We see breaks in this particular one because of our, we don't have the N in the ELL population every year to be able to report it out. But our special ed students who looks like, you know, they were around 35, and they're now, they have made some gains. Our low income. And this is writing. And you can see from where we started in 1999 to where we are today, we have seen growth in our writing. Disaggregation for gender, ethnicity. Again, from where we started in 1999. With our African American students, we have seen a gain there. Program. Socioeconomics. So any questions about overtime? And this is posted on your board site. Okay, this is the district comparison of the class of 2015, our current 10th graders with our neighboring districts as well as the state. EOC 2 and EOC 1 and the biology. Note that North Shore does not test any of its 9th graders in the 9th grade for EOC biology, so they don't have a bio EOC score. These are, again, these would be the students in biology who were accelerated, if you will. Current 11th graders, how they did as 10th graders against our neighbors. And I think Matt shared some of this with you, a slide similar to this during our work session. And then our current 10th graders. And this is EOC Math 1 and 2 data that isn't going to be very complete.
We've had more kids than that truly complete the EOC.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
Yeah. And I guess that, just to bring this up as the public is here, because a lot of times folks go out to look at OSPI, that when they look at some of these numbers out there that Chris has looked at, that they aren't necessarily accurate figures that are out on the OSPI website. So if you look at those, you might want to take those with a grain of salt. If you have really good questions, come and ask the district and not OSPI.
Yeah, we do have a call in to see how they are tracking those numbers, because the math just doesn't add up to us. Our current planned action steps, again, it's reinforcing the curriculum and assessment, clarity of standards taught and assessed. Matt has been doing, work with the principals and buildings on the Common Core assessments, and they will be, or excuse me, not the Common Core assessment, the state standards for English and language arts and math with implementation next year. We are looking at our middle school math pathways to ensure that our students are ready for higher levels of math. This will be shared tomorrow with our principal group, that we are looking at our pathways. And then, as I've said before, the SIP and the data dashboard is being used for the first time this year for goal setting for each of the class of based on individual student performance. And then the annual measurable objectives, Dr. Pierce, do you want to do these? You want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. These are our ninth grade students, and 84% were on track by earning 6 credits, and our 2017 target is 92%. So remember how we do the AMO, it's, taking the benchmark year, subtracting that from 100, dividing it by 6, half,
and then by 6.
And then by 6. 10th grade, this is the HISP. Our baseline year was 92. Our performance this past spring was 92, and our target for 2017 is 96. Our writing, our baseline year was 94. Our performance last spring was 95. Our target for 2017 is 97. Our baseline in the algebra EOC for 10-11 was 86. Our performance last spring was 82. And our target is 93 for 2017.
Have the numbers right? Is this right?
Yeah, we talked about that very fact today because we've been developing, our AMOs, and so right toward the end, after we had gone through that, we said, we better double check this. So we are going to double check and see if that is inclusive of previously passed students. So we're going to double check.
It just seems if they don't have the total number of kids right and test score, could this be not correct?
Yeah. And then for our 10th grade students, their baseline year for geometry is 71. Performance last spring was 83, so their target for 2017 is 86. But Jackie, I go back to your point of, we need to double check the numbers. Biology, baseline for 10th graders was 72. Their performance in 11-12 last spring was 79, so our target is 87%. And then these are our grades, our credits. So we did a baseline in 11-12 with 74%, and so our target for 2017 is 87, based on the AMO calculations.
I have just a few questions.
Go ahead.
I know the AMO is the whole state standard and how it was set and that, and I know we had talked about how we might possibly set different ones as a district as to what they would be. I don't think we had a chance to talk about it at the last time, so I don't know if that will still be on the agenda at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of process, our thinking has been, because we created the performance targets as part of the strategic plan, and so completing our input processes around that, getting feedback, and then bringing that back to the board in, trying to remember our timeline when we brought strategic plan back to March, to say, here's what we, what feedback we gathered, and then that we would set the actual firm targets at that time, so that we do have that final time for the board and us to have that conversation about what do we really want the targets to be.
Do you see that being a retreat or extended work session topic?
A retreat topic. Okay.
And the other quick question, on these last slides, these are students from in grade 10, so am I looking at my current 11th graders?
That's a really
I'm just
good
trying to
question.
figure out.
This is 10th grade, not the same cohort group. So let me back up one
So
slide.
I'm looking at 11th and 12th, all combined, so in 10th grade.
So these students, we took the baseline in 10-11 when they were 10th graders.
So what did our 10th grade scores show in 10-11?
So it's, these three
They're all
data
10th
points are representing 10th graders. So 10th graders when they were in 10, 11, 10th graders when they were in 11, 12, and by the time we have 10th graders in 2017, that would be their target.
And now it's just doing the cumulative for those who took it in 7th grade, I think, because we had 7th graders who took it, we had 8th graders who took it. So it's the same thing as EOC.
And that's what I think Jackie was asking, are the numbers correct, even though they may, I see what you're saying.
That we need to look at it in this
cumulative
one,
piece.
too.
Yes.
And also, it might be interesting, because algebra, I'm assuming our pathway currently is by 9th grade, ideally, all students have taken algebra, would be like the latest. And if so, then we should be looking at an EOC for everybody getting to a higher percentage then. If 10th grade is when we expect the majority to take geometry, then we should be expecting a higher percentage then. So I think we can set some targets looking that way as to when you expect that EOC to hit. And do the cumulative from that component.
Well, and I think this is a good example of what you're saying, that 86%, does it represent all students who have taken the EOC 10th grade and before?
Right.
Yeah, so we know all the kids that did it.
Right, because I think that's
Not
the
just
piece that's...
Not just the kids that are currently in this 10th grade year.
Right, and the key thing, at 10th grade, we're looking at, we really want them to have passed most of these. So by 11th grade, they're done with the HISPs, they're done with the EOCs,
Yeah.
and they're moving on from the state standard and requirement. And so I'd like to know who passed all of them and what percentage we succeeded that.
That's good. Good question. Anybody else, any other questions? Heather, thank you once again. Much appreciated. These have gotten really, really good this year. Thank you. Thanks. I know you all have done a lot of work. You've listened to the board over the last few years of ends reporting, and we're making great progress, I think, in how they come out and how information that we're getting. So thank you. Okay, superintendent report. Do you have anything for us this evening?
I do. I have 2 items. One is our preliminary graduation data that I let you know we typically can bring to you in November, but we'd be bringing to you in December, a little later this year, and then you'll get a finalized report as part of ER1. So I have a handout here just so it makes it a little easier for us to look at. When we determine graduation rate, we look at the total number of students identified in the class of when they entered the system as 9th graders. So we're looking at data for the graduating class of 2012, our seniors who just graduated last spring, and the total number of students in that class was 1,769. Of those 769 students, 1,505 of them graduated on time. When you look at who entered as 9th graders and who then graduated as seniors, that means 264 did not graduate. However, that 264 number includes a lot of information, so that's what's bulleted here for you. 57 of those students are still active in our system, so they would potentially be now included in our extended graduation rate. They're still in our system, still working toward graduation. 3 are what are classified as completers, and those are students who have gone on to get a GED. 87 of the students of the 264 are classified as dropouts. However, a portion of those students that are classified as dropouts in the system are Emerson K-12 students, formerly Family Learning Center students last year, who either earned a homeschool diploma, so they never intended really to earn a diploma with us, or an AA degree, so didn't earn a diploma but went on to earn a 2-year degree, or a private school diploma. And so we'll have that information for you by ER1 so we can look at how many of those 30 students from Emerson K-12, if you drop down to the chart a little lower, are did go on to complete either an AA or a homeschool diploma, et cetera. Of the back up to the bulleted list, 18 of the students' status is just unknown, so we do not know the status of 18 students. We know, unfortunately, 2 of the students are deceased, and 97 of those students, of the 264, transferred from our system prior to graduation. So in looking at how do you calculate the graduation rate, we base, and the state bases our on-time graduation rate on the total number of active students in the system at the time of graduation. So it's total graduates divided by the total in class of minus the transfers and the deceased students. So that calculation for 2012 is the 1,505 divided by the 1,769 minus the 99, which is the 97 students plus the 2 deceased students. So our preliminary on-time graduation rate for the class of 2012 is 90.1%. We'll be able to verify that when we come back and do ER1. Essentially, this means 165 of the students, when you account for the transfers, et cetera, they did not graduate on time. So we do have a table here, mid-report, that shows the non-graduate data by high school. So you can say by high school who's still active in the system, who is in that completer list, who earned GEDs, who by number by school are in that dropout category, and then by school, the unknown data.
Would it be possible to add for the dropout a percent? Because 11 kids at Juanita High is a bigger percentage than 11 kids would be at Redmond High, for instance, because of the number of students that are in the class.
Or the, yep, 2.
Yeah, so I think that would help just to know if these are pretty similar building by building. I mean, by raw numbers, they look like not, but I bet they are.
Okay, yeah, that's good. We can definitely do that.
It seems kind of harsh for statistical and, public reasons to count the homeschoolers, the AA degrees, the private school diploma group as dropouts. That's bizarre.
Yeah, and that's why we always like to include the context of the, of those 30 students, they didn't all really drop out, but they're included in that category for the graduation calculation.
I think our politicians need to know that.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea, especially since it's not like homeschooling is a small number throughout the state.
Right. No, I think it's a really good point. And
I never thought of them as being classified as dropouts. Or the AA degree. Well, the AA degrees, I guess, without the high school diploma, but they are in an odd category.
And I was looking, we don't have the data for 2012 yet, but as we looked into what we put together last year, it was like 21 of the 57 or something. So it was a pretty good amount that are actually completing a diploma of some sort and not actually dropping out. When we come back and do ER1, we do also report why the students who didn't graduate on time, what were they missing? So if you turn the page, you'll see a blank chart at this point, but we'll be able to share with you who were missing our, just our performance graduation requirements, our level 5 requirements, how many were only missing their culminating project or high school and beyond, how many were only missing credit, and then how many were only missing, not meeting the state standards, and how many were had a combination of multiple factors. And then we also will be able to give you the demographic information on non-graduates. So we'll be presenting this more fully as part of ER1, but I just did want to share that in terms of how are we using this data to guide our continuous improvement, we have a goal, obviously, of 100% graduation, on-time graduation. So we've got, as part of the SIP this year, principals using the dashboard to look at their by school graduation rate and to set goals. And we're, like you saw with the credit and all of the things that we were presenting as ER1, we're looking at how do we enhance methods of tracking students by name who aren't on track and having a real specific plan. And then as part of our work around intervention programs, what are we developing, for example, around credit retrieval opportunities? So when students do fall behind, what are we as a system potentially doing to help them get caught up and on track? So you'll be hearing more about that in our upcoming work sessions on intervention programs. So that's a piece of that work.
Well, as long as the state puts this homeschool group in there, we may never make 100%.
That's true.
Because that group isn't going to change their behaviors.
No, but
necessarily.
we can make it clear that we have a 98.5% graduation rate, and the other 1.5% go on to do this.
Yes, but
I don't think there's
I'm
any
just saying
problems.
that it needs the explanations and the asterisks.
Right, because
with
when
it.
you go, if you just go to get the data from the
Yeah.
OSPI report card site, it's not going to
It's not
provide
gonna
that
have all
kind
that.
of context, but we can at least do that locally.
Yeah. But I think it's a good point made that we legislators should be made
Mhm.
aware of, since they're the ones that set the stuff.
Okay.
And your other topic?
My other topic is sequestration. So just a brief, some background on that. So in 2011, the Budget Control Act of 2011 was passed by Congress, and this called for $917 billion in cuts to take place over 10 years, and they created a joint select committee on deficit reduction. So what this really means, kind of long story short, is that there could be $1.2 trillion in cuts over 9 years in the form of sequestering funds. So really what it means is sequestration means to separate or remove into solitude or retirement. That's Webster's dictionary. So really the law says that they could remove some property temporarily from the possession of the owner, which in this case it's funding that we have possession of, and seize it or hold it until legal claims are settled. So for our purposes, it's the lowering of budget authority at the federal level, making that money unavailable for states to use. So what that could mean for Washington State is an 8.2% cut in federal funding, which would total a cut potentially of $49,601. So we have looked at, well, first of all, does that mean we're going to lose money this year? We don't believe so, that none of those effects would come into effect for the 12-13 year. Most of the federal programs are front-funded, and so most of what we have right now in federal programs were front-funded from fiscal year 12. And so most of the federal programs are exempt from cuts this year. But when we look at what could a 8.2% cut moving forward into the 13-14 school year mean for us as a district, while the actual impact and timing really won't be known until the federal budget is determined, it could result in a potential cut of about $360,000 from our special ed programs, about $8,000 from our vocational secondary, about $2,000 from Perkins Skills Center, which is CTE Skill Center funding, about $133,000 cut from Title I, a $41,600 cut from Title II, a $48,700 cut from Head Start, a $20,000 cut from ELL, a $4,400 cut from our Indian Native American Education Program, and a $155,000 cut potentially in our federal meal reimbursement, for a total of $774,000 in cuts, which is a substantial amount of money.
Could we get a copy of that in our Friday, or our next
Absolutely, I will
report?
provide this to you. So thanks to Barbara for putting
that's great.
putting this together.
So you've got an official little PowerPoint, it looks like. Are the superintendents making an official statement? I mean, we have a state senator who is apparently, according to today's headline, which I read rather quickly, leading the charge to allow us to go into sequestration. And the food program in particular, I don't know how we managed to do the free and reduced lunch program with those kind of cuts, particularly in light of all the new requirements. And I'm assuming they're not going to change the requirements, which have, significantly increased the cost of the meals as we try and make them healthier.
Well, maybe this is premature, but one thing I was going to request in the LA report is that I don't think we need to do a resolution as a board, but I think we could consider instructing our superintendent and our board president to send a letter to our two senators and Congresswoman Dobene and Congressman Reichert, laying out this information, saying that this could have a serious
Is
impact.
the impact we would on our district.
And that's what I would request, is that our two leaders send those letters so that that's known that this is going to be the impact to our local community.
And I sent it to Tracy Boyd, I can't remember where it is. I think it's on NSBA's website that they had, I'm thinking for the public, place for
That's a good idea, too.
Of what people can do individually, but certainly folks could write their senators, text them, send them an email or whatever as well. It doesn't have to come just from the board, but I think anyone of our community who has an interest in not seeing the funds cut could do that. Maybe some of our PTA legislative folks might want to take that on too from the PTA side. So,
but do we need?
Well, it gets into the
I don't think we need
silly
any
state
formal.
when these are mandatory programs. Then all of a sudden they're going to continue to mandate them
without funding,
and then
impact how we do it. So.
But I don't think we need to take a formal.
I'm fine with a letter if everyone else is fine with doing it that way.
I'm
we
fine
wouldn't be
with
able to
it.
do a resolution until next month anyway, and
it doesn't really
sooner-
matter. It's just a matter of letting them know,
Yeah.
you know.
And I think everybody's in agreement this is not good. Cutting funds from federal programs that they mandate to have
Underfunded
operate.
federal programs?
Yeah,
It
that are-
would behoove them to look at options that are available, at which if the cuts must occur, of ways in which they can address those things. However, it's a big system out there.
Yes, it is.
Well, and the truth is that the federal spending on education is a really tiny, tiny, small piece of this overall budget. And I think that they keep playing games.
They probably have bigger pots that they could go after, is what you're trying to tell
They
me.
have many other things they can
Some of
do.
the
I'm
littler
more
ones.
worried about the free and reduced, our meal program, and how in the world we
Yeah.
would deal with that, because we have no way of making up that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other way is you charge everybody else more money
I
in
mean,
order for
you
them to pay
can
for
cut
it to
programs,
subsidize.
you
So
can cut services, but you can't cut one of those meals in half, or 10% of one of those meals off. And we have no other person we can charge for that food.
Right.
We are caught in a bind on the food program.
Have we been looking at any other, scenarios, options for us as a district? And I'm just,
I don't know.
So I think if we, so let's pretend that these cuts come from the federal level. We really have two options. One is we flow through those cuts and make the cuts based on the reduced federal funding, or we look at what would we cut in other programs so we wouldn't have to make these cuts. So it would be trying to determine where to cut $774,000 out of other programs so we could restore these. We have done that sort of thing through our budget processes in the past when it comes to state funding cuts and so forth, but it's, a better scenario would be that we don't receive the cuts.
Well, and I think,
don't have
again,
those difficult
it's-
decisions to make.
As I think you're kind of alluding to, it's kind of a big game of chicken, and I don't think we want to really play. In other words, I don't think we want to let people say, "Well, okay, we'll be able to cut here and put in there."
Yeah.
I think I caution against doing that, even though we know that there's when you make budgetary decisions, you do make decisions. I mean, the one thing that Congress doesn't have to do that we have to do is balance a budget. And so they've got a little more room to play with.
No, I think it's important for us to make a statement of what the impact would be
Right.
on this district
Right.
to the people who our community is elected to represent us. Because it's their students and their families that are being impacted.
There's another part to this that is important. We receive $2.2 million in rebates each year from the IRS for our build American bonds that were sold in 2009, 2010.
The bond market.
So sequestration could reduce those rebates by 7.6% or $167,000 per year. That means as a district, we would have to increase the amount we levy local taxpayers by 1/10 of a cent or $1,000 to make up for the loss. So
we can't increase our levies.
Well, and then there's, we can go down the.
Debt service.
It's our debt service
fund, yeah.
And then, of course, you go down the
Let's
list
explain
of
that one.
impacts on individuals that
Yeah.
live in the district and employees as far as eliminating various, depending on what scenarios play out, but certainly, raising everybody's taxes at least $2,000 first of the year,
So is
and
this,
then flowing from there.
so timeframe wise, this is something where I can only worry about so many things at once. And this is something where I have very little control, and I'm just wondering when, if this plays out poorly for us, would we know we have to play out a bad hand?
Mm-hmm. Would we have to do it for the next budget? Would this impact our next year's budget? Yes.
We'll know one thing by the end of the year when we know what Congress does.
Right, because this would take
But then
effect January.
who knows what they'll do after that?
Right.
But we'll have to plan for worst-case scenario. My big question still comes down to the food program, because we have never, the food program is self-sustaining, it's self-supporting. We don't use any state or local money for our meal program. So where in the world do we, how in the world do we deal with that program? With the other programs, we're going to be like we have been with the state budget cuts.
Yeah.
We're going to have to say, what do we pay for and what don't we pay for? Because we're down to every budget cycle, we don't have enough money to fund everything we think we should be doing when it comes to public education.
So that actually does beg the question of useful things that you could update us on, is on free and reduced, what are our options? That's a specific program of interest. Thanks.
Janine, doesn't the state pay something for some breakfast or, but I mean, didn't they add some little bitty pot of money in to add meals? I want to say they did. And they did something from the state to expand what the feds do. Not a very big amount.
Janine already indicated it's a small amount, which was
teeny
even smaller
tiny.
as far away as she
Correct.
was.
Small. The state, there is a state subsidy for school food service, but it is very small relative to the federal money for free and reduced lunch.
And I do want people to understand that our breakfast program is targeted at our high needs schools. It is not a universal breakfast program at our elementary schools. I think it is at our junior middle schools and high schools, but it's self-sustaining. So either you're paying for your meal or you qualify for federal reimbursement through free and reduced programs for lunch or, in some cases, breakfast. I had to explain this to a citizen once going, are we paying for meals for everybody? And I said, no, not exactly. We have, it isn't for everyone. It's a federal program. It's an anti-poverty program, and it's because kids who are not well-nourished, and we're getting better at that nourished part, only it costs more money to do healthier food, do not learn well.
Well, depending on how this plays out, there'll be more people added, more families will be added to that eligibility category. Because people lose jobs and,
PACs and our Nourishing Network folks that are out there are have bigger jobs right now, trying to help it out as they are doing as well.
And I just wanted to mention that our food services department, they'll work with principals on a school-by-school basis to develop breakfast programs if it's a need in the school. So it's not just available in our Title I schools, but they can make those available wherever there's a need.
So then I'm hearing that we'll have a letter that we'll send.
Sounds great.
Probably should get it out before the first of the year. Sure.
No, well, if you can, you
I'll
should
read
get it out
minutes
in the
on
next
any-
week.
Yes, yes.
Because we
Sooner the better.
really need them to do something in the next 2 weeks.
We'll do it ASAP.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Tracy?
No,
Okay.
that's it.
Doug, anything
Very-
else besides
just a kind of a
sequestration?
postscript to the last discussion we had, that I noticed on the NSBA, our National Association website today, that 300 school boards had adopted resolutions basically addressing the topic that we just discussed and urging Congress not to take us off the cliff. And the only other thing, on the state level, I didn't get a chance to check today, but as of Friday, I think there were still 2 legislative races that were going through.
The two that were down to just
Yeah,
handfuls, huh?
they're down to manual recount, I think
Okay,
it comes down
yeah.
to. But what's interesting and what's going to be, could be interesting for us is that if the one race in Benton County, I'm sorry, the name of the senator's Benton, in Clark County favors the incumbent, that could put in a scenario in play where our 48th District Senator, who's a Democrat, could be form an alliance with the Republican minority in the Senate and become the leader. So we can, that could be an interesting scenario to see
Yes, it could. Yeah, I did
how
read
that develops.
I did read that could be the case.
So we could, it could be an interesting situation where, and that's the only other thing to kind of report on.
Interesting. Okay.
On that resolution, I think the resolutions are fine, but I don't think they're particularly meaningful. I think a letter with specifics as to how it would impact us to our specific representatives is more meaningful.
And our two
Particularly our
senators.
senator is a former school board member.
Yep. Okay, any board follow-up items that needed to be addressed that we want to make sure need to be addressed? Anything for you? Future agenda items? I marked a couple things that came up and stuck them in under retreat or wherever.
And it might have been more legislative, but the whole charter school initiative that has come forward and the different things, it'd be good to sort of be proactive in what's going on.
Unfolding.
Of what's unfolding.
Unfolding as we speak.
And I've got it down in our March gathering.
Okay.
As a topic. Figure by
Thanks.
then there may be some dust that settles and.
Well, I think they have to have their outline by then. I know they're looking for authorizing districts now at this point in time, when I had gone looking, but they were setting up their process.
All right, so anyway, I do have it there for that meeting. Anything else with debrief? The work session, again, was very good this afternoon. Thank you, Matt and Heather, for a presentation. Board member comments? Just a thank you to the district and to the Kirkland City Council members and staff that joined the board at Sandberg and Keller and Muir to tour and see the buildings. I think it's of tremendous value to them. I know I enjoy going to see them, but I think it's important for them to come. They came and they have a lot of interest depending on their role in the city, the questions they ask and what they look at in the buildings as they walk from place to place. So truly appreciate them coming. They do come with a large group, so it was really beneficial. And then we had the architects there with the principals to tell them and us about the buildings. So it was really very nice. So thank you all for scheduling that and having us come.
I'll just say a quick thank you to Diane for all of the logistics and planning that she did.
Yes, Diane, yes. It was very nice. Okay, our next meeting is January 14th, a long time from now. And then it'll be a blink. At 5, we will have a work session, and then we will be have a reception to honor the National Board Certified Teachers that night, and our board meeting will be at 7 p.m. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, any second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned, and I wish everyone a happy holidays.